Welcome to episode 3 of the Do It Anyway podcast. I'm your host, Maria Redmond, and we're here this week to discuss all things health, wellness, fitness, nutrition, and everything in between. So join me on this episode of today where we're going to discuss macronutrients. Oh my gosh, the craze of all craze, the thing that makes up all diets. And I think the thing that actually causes the most confusion when it comes to nutrition plans. So I thought that I wanted to get into it today, break it down for you, and give you hopefully a better understanding of macronutrients and where they are supposed to be set in your nutrition plan. Before I get into that, I want to say that as we take this journey, I want you guys to be aware that I don't want to demonize any foods. I don't want to demonize different diets. I really just want to give you the good basis first. We can get into different dietary protocols later on, but right now I just want to give you just the basis of what goes into a nutrition plan so that you can just get started. So without further ado, let's kind of get into it and talk about macros. Everybody knows that macros are typically protein, carbs, and fats. However, there is another macronutrient, and actually falls in the line with carbohydrates because it's technically an indigestible carbohydrate, and that's fiber. So you have protein, carbs, fats, and then you have fiber. Fiber I want to start with because I think that it is the most often overlooked key nutrient macro, so to speak, that you need in your diet. Without fiber, there are a lot of things that's going to be in your nutrition plan that are not going to work well. So, what is fiber? Fiber, you've got two types. You've got soluble fiber and you've got insoluble fiber. Soluble fiber is basically a fiber that can break down in water or absorb water. Think things like your chia seeds, flax seeds. They kind of make that gelatinous goop when you mix it with water. Fiber helps your body push through waste through your colon into the system so that you can digest foods properly, absorb different nutrients in the body, but really it's just basically a good colon cleanser. Now, insoluble fiber are things like leafy greens, nuts and seeds. These things just kind of create bulk to your diet in terms of food, and they too help push food through the colon, but they just add bulk. Cucumbers, things like cucumbers and leafy greens, they make you feel more full, but what they also do is bind up a lot of toxins that are in the system to also push that through the colon. So your insoluble fibers are typically deemed as your more detoxifiers, if I should dare to say, and your soluble fibers are the things in your diet that are going to help you really absorb nutrients better. Soluble fibers also pick up cholesterol that's in your system and help you rid out cholesterol, fatty acids. So that helps lower your LDL, which is your bad cholesterol. That's kind of how that works. Soluble fiber also helps you control and regulate your blood sugar. So when you eat foods that are high in starchy carbs, high in carbs rather, that spike your insulin, the soluble fibers slow down the digestion process of that carbohydrate, thus making your glucose stay lower because you're not spiking as high. So that's really important in your plan. Without fiber, you're doing yourself an injustice on your nutrition plan. So how much fiber should you have? If you are a female under 50, you should have about 25 grams of fiber. If you're a male, you should have 5 grams more at 30. If you're over 50, you should have about 21 grams if you're a female and about 25 to 28 grams if you're a male. Please, please, please make sure that your diet has enough fiber in it. You will be so happy that you did. Fiber also regulates the one key thing that's in your body that people don't know a lot about, and that's your gut's health, your microbiome. There's so many things that happens when you have fiber that it feeds the gut microbiome. There's little bugs inside that are the good bacteria, and they feed off of the fiber that's in your diet. And this helps keep your gut regulated. So fiber, again, is really, really critical. So I wanted to start with fiber because people don't talk about it enough. It's not just something that you want to have in your diet so you can go poop better. It's well beyond that. So, fiber first. The next key nutrient that everyone loves to talk about and that gets really demonized are carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are not the devil, people. You shouldn't be scared of carbohydrates. You need carbohydrates for mental clarity, for hormone balance, for strength training, endurance, all of these different things. You definitely need carbohydrates. There's definitely good carbohydrates, and then there's not so good carbohydrates. I don't want to say bad carbohydrates. Again, we're not demonizing food, but you have carbohydrates that don't really offer any nutritional value. So what are carbohydrates? We all know of the few, rice, pasta, sweet potatoes, regular potatoes, bread, but then you also have your fruits and vegetables. You have your berries, you've got apples, grapes, oranges, things of that nature. These carbohydrates are all important. They all play a critical role. And I would even say that, a muffin and a cookie, they all play a role as well in your nutrition plan too, because if you like to have an occasional treat, there's no reason why you can't pop those in. However, where you place those carbohydrates in your diet is what really matters. If you are a person that is trying to get into a weight loss journey and you've been sedentary for a long time, and maybe you're pre-diabetic or you are diabetic, you want to definitely put carbohydrates into your diet that are low glycemic. And the glycemic index basically it tells you how fast something you eat, how fast that turns into sugars, and it rates on a scale from 1 to 100. So you want to pick things that are about 40 or less on the glycemic index scale. So don't go over that if you're someone that's dealing with pre-diabetes or diabetes, or you're trying to lose a lot of weight. You want to pick low glycemic index, starchy carbs or fruits to put into your plan. So I would say basically having them higher in the day. If you're a person that's not going to do any activity at night, place them 100% higher in the day and pair them with a protein source and a fat source, which I'm going to get into those here next. Excuse me. But make sure when you're picking these carbohydrates to pay attention to a couple of things. All carbohydrates are not created equal, and everyone's different, right? Our bodies are all different. We won't absorb them all the same. So I always like to give this example using myself. Sweet potatoes are amazing. They're healthy. They're full of beta carotene. They've got great fiber in them. I mean, they're just a powerhouse of a vegetable, a tuber, so to speak, to eat. However, for me, I get an inflammatory response from them. So after 2 days of eating a sweet potato, I start to get very puffy underneath my eyes, around my wrists, around my ankles. They make me retain a lot of water. So I know that though they're healthy, they give me a different response. So you want to be careful and start, keeping your eyes open to see if what carbohydrate you're eating, if that's kind of creating the same response in yourself. Make sure that you're paying attention. That's why, I talked about this in the last episode, having a logbook and a journal and kind of writing down what you eat and how it made you feel is going to be extremely important along this journey, so that you know if maybe you need to eliminate that food and replace it with something else. For me, my replacement is going to baby red potatoes. They don't bother me at all. I actually love them. They're quite tasty. They're very versatile for me. I can make my French fries still if I want to in the air fryer, and eat them. So I don't worry about, missing sweet potatoes, though I love them so much. So making sure you pay attention to what carb goes in is going to be critical. Another carb that I think people are so afraid to have is breads. They always say, well, can I still eat bread? The answer to that is, unless you have a gluten intolerance, yes, you can have bread. Now, what kind of bread? There's different caliber of bread. I don't ever really recommend someone ever go and eat an old-fashioned white bread. Horrible. It's enriched white flour. Not very good for you. But if you eat something like Ezekiel bread, which are sprouted grain breads, and there's now a variety of them out there on the market now. I even think that Aldi grocery store has their own sprouted bread brand that's in a very affordable price. You can easily have your sandwich. That bread tastes amazing. So you can still have your bread. Another bread that's actually very low, if it has very, very low incidence of gluten intolerance is sourdough bread. I'm sure everyone's seeing that it seems to be the popular thing right now, and that's just because it's easier on the gut for people that have gluten insensitivity. So you can also do sourdough bread. All that being said, if you're overeating the amount of carbs that your body can handle, you're going to store them as fat, just as any other macronutrient. So I want you to be mindful there. But not having them in your diet at all can be problematic, even if you're going on different diets that require you to not eat carbohydrates, like ketogenic diets or extremely low carbohydrate diets. At some point, you will start to see where you have to put them back in. And there's other scientific and bodily process reasons for that we'll get into in other episodes. But just know that carbohydrates are necessary to the body and very, very necessary to brain function, like 100%. Your brain rather, really needs glucose to function off of. So on some days where you feel a bit foggy head, things of that nature, if you're a low carb dieter, this could be why you're experiencing that. Now let's move on to proteins. Proteins, man, I love proteins. That's my jam. I'm a protein and fat girl personally myself. Proteins are your meats, eggs, chicken, poultry, tofu if you're a vegetarian, beans, legumes. These are the places that you're going to get your good protein sources from. When picking protein sources, this is going to be a big bulk of your diet. So I want you to know that you need proteins for, building muscle, for all types of bodily process, your hormones, brain function, joints, ligaments, and tendons. So you need protein for quite a lot of things. And right now there's a new study that's just been published by the Medical Health Journal talking about protein and high protein intake, and its ability to stave off early onset Alzheimer's. So there's a lot that's been correlated with protein in the diet and how critical it is in the body. I personally feel, and I have seen across my time here in the fitness space, when we have individuals as we age, we're all doing really great in our 20s and 30s eating protein. 40s, so 50s, I've noticed a sharp decline in the amount of protein that is eaten, starting eating at age 50 go forward. And I think that really shows to why we look so much more feeble, and we're so much more weak, and we have so much more incidence of injury. As we age, we tend to eat less protein. I'm not sure where that started. I'm not sure who taught us that, but literally, think about your grandparents and what they eat on their plate. They're typically nibbling on bread or very soft, carbohydrate loaded foods, junk foods, snacks, things of that nature. They're never just sitting eating, a steak anymore. It's almost like unheard of. And what really opened my eyes to this is when I lived in Germany over those years, I was looking at the older population there. They are extremely mobile. There are groups upon groups of men and women in their late 70s, 80s that rollerblade, that are doing something called Nordic walking, which looks like they're just walking with those sticks, but man, it's intense. I almost died trying it out. They also are riding bikes. And I said, wow, what is the difference between our European counterparts to Americans? And you know what it is? They ingest so much protein. I mean, they are eating sausages and pieces of chicken like nonstop. It's like a nonstop feast of all this meat all day long. It was just mind-boggling to me. But they are far more firm. You touch an older person, they never feel weak. They never feel frail. It's very rare to see a frail older person in Germany in particular. So I was really paying attention to that and saying, wow. And their incidence of obesity, I noticed, was really low despite the amount of carbohydrates that they eat too, because every piece of meat is slammed between a brochen, which is bread. It's just like it goes together like a hand in glove. If it's a piece of meat, it's in a brochen. It's the way that it works. And so I really started deep diving into it the last 5 years of like how critical protein is to the diet. Protein will literally save your life. So, what kind of proteins? I talked about what they are, but high quality. If you can afford to get higher quality proteins in your diet, because we live here in the United States, I would say go for that. Unfortunately, our food quality is not the best. So, um, if you want to splurge on anything in your nutrition, your nutrition plan, it should definitely be your proteins. Get that better quality chicken 100%. I mean, oh my goodness. I used to be one of those that said, "Oh, it's chicken, it's fine. I'll cut the fat off, I'll clean it, soak it for a little bit and cook it up, whatever." Yeah, I no longer do that. I make sure that I have high quality chicken. I eat grass fed, grass ended beef. So, what is grass fed, grass ended beef? When you have grass fed beef, it's a cow that's been out on a pasture eating just grass, right? They never are inside the house eating whatever the mixture meal is of antibiotics and all the other garbage that they give them. So these cows rather, are out at pasture just grazing on grass all day long. But if they're not grass ended or grass finished, 3 months towards the end of their life before they're going to go to slaughter, they go into the regular barn with everyone else eating the slop. So all that to me in my mind is like, okay, well, that was a whole waste. It saved the farmer money on food 100%, right? Because the cow ate what was naturally there. However, you as a consumer are getting the last 3 months of what that cow has eaten. You're not getting all that greatness that he had in his body beforehand, which it's just a waste to me. But grass ended beef, they stay out to pasture up until the day they slaughter. And so that beef, I'm going to tell you right now, it's not cheap. It is not cheap. You're going to look at me and be like, Maria is crazy. I could buy a pair of sneakers with that. But that's my point. If you can buy a pair of Jordans versus some meat that you're going to eat, I think that if you're worried about your body, buy the meat. That's kind of how I look at it. So I buy the beef. Where's the beef? It's in my mouth. I hate it. It's expensive beef, but I feel better about it. And what I've also noticed is, there used to be that saying, if you eat too much beef, it's not good for your digestion. I used to agree with that, right? Because I was always eating beef, but I wasn't eating the good quality beef. Once I switched to eating much better quality beef, my digestion has been amazing. Like, I don't ever feel heavy after a piece of steak that I've purchased. And I mean, I eat about 2 pounds of beef almost a day. If I'm being honest, that's a lot of beef. I'm eating a lot of beef. I should just buy a cow, actually. I think I need a farm at this point. I'm just going to get some cows. But that's how much beef I eat, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with my digestion. I've seen tremendous health benefit and fitness benefits from having the beef. So higher quality, on your chicken, higher quality on your beef, and even on your eggs, right? So if you're going to get your eggs, again, that was another thing. I was kind of like, man, it's an egg. What is cheaper out here? Because I don't know what's going on with these chickens. Like, they have turned bougie on us because these eggs are expensive. And I'm trying to figure out, isn't it just from the same chicken from last week? I'm just confused. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. But the eggs have gone from like, $1 for a dozen to like the cheap eggs to like 275, and I'm trying to figure out, okay, what's going on. So I really said, well, is there really a difference in the quality of eggs? And here again, living in Europe has definitely shown me such a huge difference with what we have here in the US versus what's there. First of all, in European countries, we don't refrigerate eggs. And I grew up that way, not refrigerating eggs when I lived in places not in the US, which is how I thought it should be. But in the US, we take the eggs from the chicken and spray them all the good bacteria and everything off, which kills everything, only to have to refrigerate them. Bad, bad, bad deal. All that being said, the way that the chickens are fed makes the big difference in eggs. Chickens that we're getting with the less expensive eggs are treated so, oh my goodness, just horrific. It's crazy what's in their feed and how much antibiotic that they are taking that is just going into our system, right? when you get, free range, cage free eggs, those are the eggs that you want to go for. The yolk color will be completely different. You'll get a very pale yellow egg in the less expensive egg than you will in an egg that you've got to spend some money for. Now, I'm not saying go and buy $7, dozen eggs. I'm not saying that at all, but you do want to get a better quality egg. So I eat a lot of omega-3 eggs or happy eggs. I purchase those sometimes. And when I can get to the farm, I buy a flat of eggs from the farmer. So farmers markets are good for that. So support your local farmers market. You actually get a better price on those eggs when you do that. So that's going to be a benefit. So watch your eggs because that the quality of the eggs really, really do matter. I will just definitely go ahead and say that. Um, Everything else, I mean, in terms of protein sources, you've also got your whey protein that you can utilize if you're really into the fitness space. That's also a big thing. I love whey protein. I think getting a whey protein blend, there's nothing wrong with it. There's plenty of brands out right now that are phenomenal. I particularly like Devotion Nutrition. I love Dana Lynn Kay's product. They are, she's put together a phenomenal product that tastes really good. It mixes well and it bakes extremely well. So if you're a person that likes a lot of treats, that particular protein powder is just going to be the way to go. I also love another brand that I've used throughout the years when I'm doing my contest preps for bodybuilding shows called True Nutrition. I love True Nutrition's brand also because you can get isolates, you can do a mix on their webpage yourself. Then you can add all kinds of different things to it, more essential amino acids, a little bit more fat. You can add oatmeal to it. You can do it's a fully customizable website on making your protein blends. Phenomenal product. They've been around, I think, since 2001, 2002, if I'm not mistaken. So that's another product line that I really love to use. And for me, when I'm feeling like I want a snack, like if I want cookies, cakes, I've got tons of these recipes that I've created for my clients. Really, they were for me, but I just share them with my clients now. Ice cream, I use those two protein powders to make those. So I really love those quite a bit. So that's going to pretty much sum it up for our proteins. Pick higher quality, know that you need them. How much protein? I would say have about 40% of your calories in protein. That's about how much I would have in that. When starting someone off a nutrition plan, let me just say this. I like to go with the equation first of 40, 30, 30. If you're just getting started, 40% of the calories are going to be protein, 30% are going to be fats, and the other 30% are going to be carbohydrates. And then the final, which is not in the 100% of 40, 30, 30, the other final macronutrient of fiber, I'm going to have between 25 or 30, depending on if you're male or female, and then your age. That's kind of where I would start with those numbers on having things. The last macronutrient that's super duper important, and it's so funny. I think all the macronutrients get different levels of demonization, right? So don't have too much carbohydrates. They're no good for you. They're going to make you fat. Don't have too much protein. Oh my gosh, I heard that it'll kill your kidneys and you're going to die. Now this one has been for the long time. Fats. If you eat fat, it'll make you fat. Well, let me just be the first person to tell you that yes, if you go over your caloric expenditure, any of these macros will make you fat, bottom line. But eating fats, if they're healthy fats, do not make you fat and they're within your caloric range. I have been known to eat a pound of almonds every day up until last year for almost 4.5 years straight at this point. It was just my thing. I start with a bag of almonds in the morning. I still eat all my other food and I just nibble on this whole bag of almonds throughout the entire day. My weight has been the most stable the last 5 years of my life as it has ever been. And I still, on top of those almonds, ate avocado, and I eat roughly 6 to a dozen eggs every day. So I have an extremely high fat diet is what I'm telling you. Of course, my activity level dictates that I have enough caloric range to put that amount of fats in there because for every gram of fat, you're talking about 9 calories, right? So it's more calorically dense than protein and carbohydrates. Protein sits at 4 calories per gram, carbohydrates the same, 4 calories per gram. But with fats, for me, my body can absorb them a whole lot better and they do me justice. So, what do you need fats for? Fats are extremely essential in brain function, joints, ligament, tendons, for them to be more pliable, movable, right? Heart health, hormone stabilization. I think that people cut out the fats and they're because they're scared, but then they start realizing things like their hair is falling out, dry, scaly skin. Different autoimmune disorders start popping up when people cut their fats out way too low. So fats are something you want to have in your diet. What kind of fats though, right? So I think that this is where the problem lies. Trans fats, they're out. They're a no-no. They should not be ingested at all. These were found in junk foods back in the 70s, 80s, early 90s, and for the most part, I think that most companies have kind of gotten away from using them altogether. They're no longer around. Then you have saturated fats, and this is where it gets a little sticky because you have like your, processed oils, processed foods. Those are the saturated fats that you definitely do want. I hate to say it, but even too much of like crappy bacon, which we all mostly all love, but even that can be a bit too much. But for your most part, it's processed foods. However, I just talked about eggs in our protein portion. They too have saturated fats in them that are good for you if it's coming from your eggs, right? Your beef also will have some saturated fats in there. Things like chicken thighs will also have saturated fats in there, and those are perfectly fine and good for you. So knowing what you're eating and where those saturated fats are coming from are going to be key. And just stay away from the processed food. You're going to be fine when it comes to saturated fats. Then you have two other types of fats, and those are your monofats, monosaturated fats, your monosats, and your polyfats. Mono and polys are really good for you. These are your things like your avocados, your extra virgin olive oil, nuts and seeds. You'll get some of the fats from there as well. These things are all critical. Those are the ones that really also help stabilize hormone balance, which is what a lot of us really suffer with, especially as we're aging. So you want to definitely put those fats into your diet and don't, think that, oh my gosh, if I eat fat, I'm going to get fat. That's not the case. Set your numbers up in your nutrition plan, go with that 30% range, and then fit those things into fit the foods into that 30% that you should have. When it comes to the fats, the ones that I love to use because they're just powerhouses are like avocados. That is like the powerhouse fruit of all fruits. It's got so many different antioxidants in there. It tastes amazing. It's versatile in a lot of different recipes besides just guacamole and avocado toast. I mean, I've got a killer brownie recipe that I make with avocados. It absorbs other flavors extremely well. And though it has that taste when you eat it raw, when you start to mix it with things, it cultivates and changes into a very neutral taste. So it's a great way to add a healthy fat into something. It is killer in a smoothie. If you haven't tried it, trust me, try it out. You'll be surprised. So I do a lot with avocados. I love to use oils as well. Extra virgin olive oil is huge. Everyone seems to be using extra virgin olive oil, but I want everyone to be careful. Extra virgin olive oil is often faked. It seems crazy, right? Like, why would you fake oil? Like, seriously? It's because it's very, very expensive. The process of making olive oil is actually not easy. I went to watch it while I lived in Europe, and I was pretty impressed at how long it took to actually get the oil. So because it's expensive, what companies typically do is they take a little bit of extra virgin olive oil and they mix it with canola oil or other oils. So you need to really read your labels very closely when picking extra virgin olive oil. And another thing is it should always be in a dark bottle or a glass bottle because extra virgin olive oil goes rancid extremely fast. So if you're getting it and it's in this clear bottle, don't buy it. But always turn it around the back, read your ingredient label, make sure that what you're purchasing is what you're purchasing. Trust me on this. Um, Also, with extra virgin olive oil, that I don't think people realize is, though it's healthy to have in your nutrition plan, don't cook with it high heat. It's really meant to be drizzled over things or mixed into like sauces or dips, dressings. Once you heat extra virgin olive oil past a certain point, it's not good and all the health benefits are gone, and actually it can make you sick. So I know most of us have been out here for years like using it as the new grease, like frying it up. Use my extra virgin olive oil, it's good, girl. Maybe not so much. Be careful. That is not what you want to use. If you're going to fry foods in your pan, what you want to use is avocado oil. Avocado oil has a very high smoke point. So you can use it to fry foods, bake foods, broil foods. That's what you want to use. I love to use spray avocado oil when I'm cooking anything in the air fryer. It makes foods extra crispy. So if you're looking for that French fry or fried chicken type feel, use avocado oil on those meats and on your French fries because it'll turn them into perfect. It'll be perfectly crispy. Um, Another oil that I really love, very hard to find, and will be honest, it's slightly expensive, is macadamia nut oil. Um, it has a very nice nutty taste, has a high smoke point, so you could cook with it if you choose to, but it's got a lot of great health benefits when you use it. Fats, those fats help you absorb other vitamins as well, I should say. So, like your A, your E, your vitamin D, fats help you absorb those. So, without fats, you're not going to absorb those vitamins very well. So, if you're a person that's taking vitamins, you do need these fats to absorb. And macadamia nut just sits at the top with what it can do in terms of helping with absorption in the body. Soft skin, much better hair. It's just a really great oil. Another great oil that's really popular in the keto community is coconut oil. It was a little bit of a joke that my son had for a little bit. My youngest, he would say, "Mom, I've seen you dip your hands in that coconut tub to lotion your skin, to grease your hair, and now you are cooking with it. I am confused on what is happening with this coconut oil, but it is legitimately good for such a slew of different things. Coconut oil is phenomenal. It's another oil that has another high smoke point, and coconut oil has something called medium chain triglycerides in it, which really helps the body become efficient with fuel, with burning fat in the body. It's amazing and giving you energy. If you're in the keto community, you know you've made your bulletproof coffee with it, and you drink it and you'd feel amazing. That's not just hyperbole; it's really true. Medium chain triglycerides can give you a lot of energy. It's heavily used in the athletic realm in triathletes and endurance runners because of the properties of coconut oil. So that's another good oil that you definitely want to add to the mix. And it's got amazing flavor. I've made some amazing treats with it. It just really brings out that good sweet flavor. So it's a good oil to use if you want to add it to your repertoire. Another good fat that I absolutely love is nut butters. I think we all love nut butters. For the most part, people say peanut butter is my jam. So I'm going to hate on peanut butter for just a second, though. If you do not buy like organic peanut butter, you should stop eating peanut butter. Peanuts are very easy to carry a lot of different bacteria on them. And peanut farmers, when they're making, your Jiffy, even though it says all natural, they're using the peanuts that are not so great. It's just like anything else. Coffee beans, right? Your cheaper coffee uses the coffee beans that are not that great. Same thing with peanuts. So they're using the poor quality peanuts. They salvage them, and that's what they're making the lower budget peanut butter with. If you're a person that's eaten peanut butter before and let's say you've been following your nutrition and it's always spot on, but you have like this little rim of fat that's always at the base of your belly that you can't seem to figure out, eliminate the peanut butter. I guarantee you that roll of fat will go away. It is one of the nut butters that constantly I've seen in the line of my practice in all the years that keeps fat on the lower abdominals like nobody's business. It's just, and typically it's from rancid peanuts. So unless you're going to go and spend on a nice organic, high quality peanut butter, which to me, honestly, I don't know what happened, but like it doesn't taste like real peanut butter to me when it gets to that level. I'm like, this is not that great. Then switch over and go to almond butter. You've got all kind of nut butters now. It's just amazing. And if you're a person that has a nut allergy, sun butter is really good. The quality of sun butter has improved over the years. That tastes really, really good. Um, but there's macadamia nut butter now. There's also cashew nut butter, which is highly addictive and can be extremely fattening because you will overdo it. So be careful. And then that falls right in line with Nutella, which is not a nut butter. That is just crack with chocolate in it. I'm convinced. Just stay away from that stuff. It is not, I don't know why it's near the nut butters. It doesn't belong there. It just needs to go away because your nutrition plan is going to fail if you've got that in there. Just forget it. You're going to just open the nut butter, eat the nut butter of Nutella, and that's all you're going to have all day. Because when you look at the calories after you've eaten that, you're like, okay, I've just used up all of my calories. So stay away from Nutella. It is not an actual nut butter. Forget about it. When you're putting together your nutrition plan, right? So we've got our protein, we've got our carbs, we've got our fats. We all know now that they have a purpose in the body, right? We're building muscle, joints, ligaments, tendons with our proteins. We've got our fats for vitamin absorption, hormonal balance. We've got our carbohydrates as an energy source, also balancing hormones, key with nutrients being displaced in the body and providing us with glucose, which our brain needs to function. And then we've got our fiber, which is on top of everything to kind of help keep everything in the body moving through nice and clean. Once you put it in, you want it to process and be able to get on out of there so that we've had a full process from top to bottom. So protein, carbs, fats, fiber. We're going to use that 40-30-30 equation. 40% protein, 30% fats, 30% of the calories from carbohydrates. And these numbers can vary over time, but start there first, right? Don't try to remember, we said we're not doing too many things too soon, too fast. We're going to start with those numbers first and then wait for a couple of weeks and see what the body adjusts to. Don't change too many foods in that couple week time frame. So say, okay, here's a couple different protein sources I'm going to try, a couple different carbohydrate sources I'm going to try, and a couple different fat sources I'm going to try. Play around with those for 2 to 3 weeks and see where you yield. If you feel like, okay, I feel a little puffy, I would say the first place to pull from is going to be carbohydrates. Now, I wouldn't drop the calories. What I would do is pick out of those 3 foods what might be more highly inflammatory and just pull from that. And that's where it can get a little tricky, I know, but start there first, 40-30-30. Stay there for a couple weeks, let the body adjust, and then you start making changes from there. And other than that, there's really nothing too crazy that we need to, start doing in the beginning of this process. We're just going to put those on the plate. I don't even want you to, I know this is going to sound sacrilegious. I don't even want you to measure the food. If you're having chicken today, this is the start, right? We're just starting. We're having chicken today. We're just putting a nice piece of filet of breast or a couple of thighs, whatever your preference is on the meat, on the plate. We're going to take, a couple scoops of whatever our carbohydrate's going to be, typically like the size of your hand as a serving. You can do it that way if you see fit. Try to make it a carbohydrate, though, that you're not used to eating. Let's, rice is fine. Pasta is even okay, but maybe not those 2 things. Try some other items. Try and see if you like quinoa. Try to see if you like sweet potatoes or baby Red's potatoes or just mini baby potatoes for that matter. Try an array of different vegetables and all the different colors and see how you feel about those. So, start with that on the plate. And then for your fat, either pick an oil, pick avocados, pick nuts and seeds. You can, vary those throughout the meals throughout the day and see kind of how you're feeling about it at the end of 3 weeks. That's what I think is going to be the easiest way without any confusion to start. Right there is all you need, 2 to 3 weeks. And then after you get the habit of just eating like this and playing around with the different foods and seeing what you like, what you don't like, that is when we can start to make changes. So we talked today about our macronutrients. Most important, don't forget, is fiber. Don't forget your fiber. That is the key to the whole deal and making your nutrition plan work. Fiber is the key. I'm telling you, no one can tell you differently. There's plenty studies on it. Your nutrition plan must have adequate amounts of fiber. So don't skip out on that. And I think you're on your way. So with that, I'm going to close out episode 3 of this podcast. I want you to do it anyway. Get that plan together and just do it anyway. And I'll see you next week for episode 4. Peace.
You say follow me on Spotify, Apple.
Oh, yes.
Yep. I'll edit that out. But
okay.
Yeah. Just so you can add it in and be like, and make sure every journey or
just go from it.
Yep,
okay.
Yep.
All right.
Go ahead.
Make sure that you remember to follow me on Spotify, Apple, and YouTube for more episodes. I'll talk to you guys soon. Peace.